y'all, it's Jackie Luqman. Really, what I'm doing is sort of just kind of testing the Facebook stream here to make sure that we do have a solid connection. Hey y'all, let me know if you can hear the audio, if everything is okay. Let me know if the video is okay over on Facebook. Let me know if the audio is good over on Facebook. And I figured since I'm doing a little bit of system testing today, we'd have a little chat about testing, pushing people's bandwidth and testing people's tolerance in activism. Hey y'all. This isn't even something we plan to do. I just wanted to make sure everything is working on Facebook because we had a problem with the Facebook connection for our special Sunday night show. But for those of you who tuned in to Facebook for the Sunday night show, please go over to our YouTube channel and watch that show. It is posted on YouTube under Luqman Nation, and we'll be live again Thursday night at 9 p.m. Here on Facebook, also on YouTube, and also on Twitter under Periscope. Cool. I'm glad you guys can hear and everything is smooth and everything. And before Thursday night, we're hoping that we're going to bring you another show. We're working on that. We're pinning down people's schedules, but I'll let you know when that's going to be. But I just felt like I really wanted to have a little conversation with people about things something that I noticed. You know, it's really difficult being an activist, pushing for equality and justice for Black people. It is not easy. And as much as I am realizing that it's not easy, my parents had it harder. And then their parents had it harder. And I cannot even imagine how much harder their parents had it because they were enslaved. So, you know, for us, hey Sandy, what's going on? So for us, in this new, I call it the newest generation of Black activists, we have to contend not only with the history that people ignore, that we are constantly educating people on, right? Because y'all know that's my thing. I love history, and I understand its importance in these struggles that we're having today, and we have to be honest about this history that none of us learned in school, that many of us are learning right now through social media. So, you know, because we've got access to all of this information at our fingertips on the internet, which is great, right? But then there are still like the personalities we have to deal with, especially as Black activists. When you're in the political sphere, you've got to deal with people still who are telling you that, you know, you can't focus on Black issues because that's divisive, right? Because these problems affect everyone. And then you get people who are economists, and that was the focus of our show Sunday night, a report that came out that we have been waiting for with bated breath, that proved definitively that economic inequality has a pernicious and dangerous and destructive and intentional racial aspect to it that is much worse, that makes income inequality much worse for Black people than it does for just generally everybody. So you got to educate people on that. Then you got to educate people on how powerful white families in politics amassed their money and power, and too many of those families did it through crime. You've got people who who have made a living off of criminalizing Black people, Black presence, and we see that even today with the two young Black men who got arrested in Starbucks. We see that with the Black woman who was not only arrested, but who was assaulted and sexually assaulted, I would even add, because they disrobed, the police disrobed this woman at this Waffle House in, I think it was Alabama. Then we see the black women who were members of a golf, of a country club, basically, who the co-owners of the country club called the police on these black women because they weren't moving fast enough, they alleged, on the golf course. All the instances of black people, unarmed black people, being arrested, assaulted, shot, killed, murdered by law enforcement, all of the instances that are coming out and being documented of black people being assaulted by white citizens. And this can only happen because we have someone who is president who is the beneficiary of centuries of powerful white people criminalizing black existence, but convincing poor white people that whatever powerful white people do to get their money and power is okay. And it's perfectly logical, and it makes sense. I had an interaction with a person on our page, and you know, I normally don't do this. I stay away from calling people out. You know, people are people, but it gets frustrating when you have to deal with people like this when you are an activist and you're focused on politics and you're focused on policy and history, and people choose to ignore the criminality of white people because it just doesn't fit their narrative. Like, we have a post on our page about how the opium trade in the 16th century funded the expansion of Harvard University. Now, that is absolutely true. It is historically documented. And it doesn't matter, as someone pointed out, that the opium trade was legal back then. The opium trade did enormous damage to Chinese people. So, for some people, especially for some white people, it doesn't matter if something that powerful white people did or powerful Europeans did was immoral and caused reprehensible moral damage to a people. As long as it was quote unquote legal, then it was okay to do. But the very same people are not outraged by law enforcement violating the legal rights of existence of black people. That's how that kind of mess works. Anytime you can sit there and make excuses for Joe Kennedy and other members of the Kennedy family buying prohibited alcohol during Prohibition, and people saying, well, it wasn't illegal to buy alcohol. You couldn't sell it in the United States during Prohibition. It was illegal. The only way you could possess alcohol in the United States during Prohibition was if your doctor prescribed it to you, because that doctors were prescribing alcohol for some instances, or if you purchased it before Prohibition laws were passed. And then this person posts an article from Time magazine trying to prove their point that what Joe Kennedy did in amassing his fortune off of Prohibition was just fine and dandy. And the article from Time magazine points to the fact that Joe Kennedy entered into a secret deal with Winston Churchill to secure the licensing to secretly import whiskey, Irish gin, I think it was, from Ireland to the United States. Listen, y'all, my European brothers and sisters, stop twisting yourself into the intellectual knots trying to make excuses for white people and their criminality. If you have to enter into a secret deal with someone to get something, there's a reason it's secret. It's because it's illegal. And the reason Joe Kennedy could enter into a secret deal with Winston Churchill, the reason he did it was because he couldn't legally get whiskey in the United States. He had to enter into a secret deal with a leader of another country to get whiskey from a third country to import it to this country because he couldn't buy it in this country. And this person used this article to justify why what Joe Kennedy did was not illegal. Y'all have got to stop doing this. And if that's what you want to believe, okay, that's fine. But please stop coming on our page acting as if you are so much smarter than we are because you have approved the legal loophole that rich white people use that your foolish behind couldn't even use and get away with if you tried it. What is wrong with middle class and poor white people caping for rich white people, using their money, power, and influence to skirt laws that trap you up too? Because you do realize how many poor white people were locked up because of prohibition, don't you? So I don't even understand why people make excuses for people like the Kennedys, when what Joe Kennedy did was the exact same thing that the mob did when they imported their whiskey from Canada secretly because they couldn't get it in the United States. And you know, on our page, on Coffee, Current Events, and Politics, we don't have a problem with people disagreeing with us. A good disagreement in a robust discussion helps people learn new things. I cannot tell you how much stuff we've learned from people we don't disagree with, who don't disagree with us. But it's how you disagree with people that is always the kicker. And please don't think that just because Jacqueline is a nice person, and I'm usually pretty nice, please don't think that just because I'm nice, I'm not going to give back what you give out. So if you come on our page and you're condescending and nasty, and you try to suggest that we are not intelligent because we don't see things the way you do, please be prepared for what I'm giving back to you. Because I don't believe in this whole, we have to have this kumbaya moment to understand when your opening salvo to me is condescension and your suggestion that I don't know history or I don't understand politics and policy. Don't know everything. And glad to be educated on things that I don't know. But what you're not fitting to do on our page is try to treat us like we're stupid. Not and get away with it. And normally we don't block people. I try not to block people. I try not to exercise that block button, that block muscle. I try. I want to a lot. And I actually blocked and unblocked the person who posted that dumbass Kennedy article. Because, see, I want this person to put themselves in a position to be humble enough to stop being a jerk and just learn that maybe everything you understand isn't entirely true. And maybe you're looking at this situation from a perspective of, yes, privilege. But it's a privilege that even you can't exercise. So who the hell are you protecting? By not admitting that Joe Kennedy was a damn criminal. And that's how he made his money. Why is that so personal to you? And then, you know, we have to deal with that. And we choose to because we chose this platform. We recognized during the primaries that there wasn't a lot of bandwidth for black activists who were on the left. A lot of people in the established outlets weren't listening to black activists. They weren't listening to our issues. They weren't listening to how we understand politics has not worked for us, and how we know politics have to be shaped to work for us in order to address our issues. So we created our own outlets. We did. We created Coffee, Current Events, and Politics to continue the conversations we were having on, what was that called? Blog Talk Radio from 2014. We created Brick by Brick to talk about that history, to make those connections. And yes, I am reviving Brick by Brick in a couple of weeks. Give me a couple of weeks to get my stuff straight, get all my notes straight, get all my research done. And we are starting with a book study on Brick by Brick of Ibram X. Kendi's book, Stamped from the Beginning, the history of racist ideas. Yeah, that book is that important to understand where we are now. We started Pitbull in Politics so that my husband, Abdul Shahid, could express his particular and unique perspectives on politics, because he and I don't agree on everything all the time. And believe me, that man is so much more knowledgeable about foreign policy and the connection between religious history and the history of conquest to politics. It's amazing the stuff that man knows. So we created his own platform so he could do that. So that we had to create our own bandwidth to have these discussions about these issues that people in the alternative media universe, even they wouldn't listen to us. I'm pretty amazed now. I think it's amusing that people are all pissed off at H.A. Goodman now. But we told y'all last summer that there was a problem with H.A. Goodman because he was doing some collaborations with a guy who was an advocate of creating an ethno-state. We told y'all that about H.A. Goodman last summer. We told y'all that about Caitlin Johnstone last summer. We told y'all that about a couple of those people last summer, but people didn't want to listen to us. And now H.A. Goodman has come out talking about, oh, vote for Trump in 2020. Now y'all are upset. This is why we have to create our own platforms. Because people don't want to listen to us. They don't want to give our perspectives on these issues equal and a respectful time on their platforms. So we got to do our own thing. And now this current issue that is going on with our friend and our sister Anoa with this NPR hit piece from this NPR affiliate in Atlanta, it's the same thing over and over again. It is the same thing. We have to create our own bandwidth. And within that bandwidth, we have to create alliances with people who will give us a platform. And we have to make our positions and our politics and our perspectives known. And we do that without co-signing on to whatever agenda other people have. But people don't give us enough credit to be able to think, walk, and chew gum at the same time, because people have so much disrespect for black activists. And people also don't take it, Veronica Ancrum, I just said her. People also don't take into account that those of us who are doing this work, more than likely we've been doing this for a lot longer than we've been on these social media platforms. We've been doing a lot of this work in the background, and we're doing this while we also have full-time jobs, while we also have families, while we are also involved in other things. Like us, I'm fortunate enough that I'm able to work at home. And that's because I just got up the spine enough to ask this time. Before my job, that was just an aspect of the job that I had before, the assignment that I had before. But this time, this new assignment, I advocated for myself. And you don't understand how difficult it is for black people in the workplace to do that. because we see in the workplace the kind of disrespect and disregard that we have to deal with. It's hard for us to advocate for ourselves because we never know how it's going to turn out. But I was able to do it this time. So I'm fortunate that I can work at home and I can spend extra time on our platforms during the day. And then on top of that, I got a husband. I'm a wife. We have a home. So we have to take the time to take care of each other. And then on top of that, we're active in our church and our faith community. I'm the moderator in my church. That's a pretty important position. Not bragging. I'm just saying. My husband's a trustee. And we both work full time. And we've got bills and we've got family and we've got other stuff. So we've got all this other stuff going on in our life. Our bandwidth is stretched, pushed to the limit. And then we have to deal with these kinds of dismissive, condescending, nasty, vitriolic, divisive, hatred personalities in our activism. And then people wonder why we have an attitude and we don't trust some of y'all. Well, this is why. Because we have to deal with this disrespect. And these grown people who don't know how to conversation without being nasty like schoolyard bullies. Ain't nobody got time for that. I know what I just said. I'm very extremely grammatically. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for you and your petty little, oh, I know more than you do, so I'm going to come on your page and tell you about yourself. And oh my God. We're fighting for our lives here. Ain't nobody got time to be sitting around listening to you or reading your comments while you're condescending to people because you're defending some rich white person who made their fortune off a crime, but the very same people are silent about the violation of black and other marginalized people's lives. Man, please. So our bandwidth as activists, our bandwidth is pushed and stretched and tested every day. Every day. And then on top of that, our tolerance for people and their petty little BS is tested too. And then y'all get mad. And some people get mad when we have the nerve to exercise our right to escort people out of our presence online because we don't want to deal with your garbage because we got enough to deal with. We can't get enough people to come and advocate with us, for us, with us. We've always got to deal with people coming into our spaces telling us what we had better do and how we have to fight for and with other people, but we don't have enough people coming into our spaces saying, you know what can we do to help you? What are your issues? How can we put our numbers, our passion, our focus behind the issues that are affecting you? How can we help you? And we got to deal with that every day. Every day we come online. We've got to deal with that. Every day we do shows and live streams. We got to deal with people who have those kinds of attitudes all the time. Every time we go to a conference that's supposed to be progressive, we have got to fight for including more black voices on the progressive platform. Why are we still having to do that if y'all are so progressive? We got to fight the Democratic Party and their neoliberalism and their white supremacy light with a smile, and then we got to fight the progressives and the so-called leftists for telling black people that we can't focus on black issues because we can't get Medicare for all passed if we focus on reparations. Meanwhile, black people and Latinos are going to be broke, have zero wealth, in less than 40 years. And you want me to sit here and tolerate you making excuses for powerful white people, or white people with bigger platforms who are getting all this money from their contributions, who are espousing borderline racist rhetoric, talking about they need to work with the alt-right to get certain legislation passed. You want us to tolerate that. And our people are going to have nothing in 40 years. Ain't nobody got time for that. Not over here. Not on Coffee, Current Events, and Politics in Luqman Nation. Not on Brick by Brick. Not on Luqman Nation on Twitter. Not in Pitbull and Politics. Ain't nobody got time for anybody's lack of understanding of the dire straits black and marginalized people are in, and our need to right this ship by focusing on our issues first and foremost. If that's not comfortable with you, there's the door. And like I said, excuse me. Hey, Sherry. Just general problematic white people that we're supposed to be all in love with, that we told y'all were a problem last summer. Told you. Didn't want to believe us. Oh, and it's so funny that now, and I don't want anybody to be censored. We see that Facebook is censoring us with our post reach. I don't pay too much attention to that kind of stuff. Abdus does. My husband does. I just do the live streams and, you know, hope that I don't cuss too much and yell and scream too much. But Abdus pays attention to the post reach all the time. So we see Facebook censoring our stuff. Every time we post stuff about black people, the post reach goes way down. We see it. So please share our videos. Share our content. Get this message out. But, you know, I'm not for censoring anybody. I just think it's funny now that people are all upset that the platforms of people that we told you were a problem last summer on YouTube are being demonetized. Ours was too. And they're being censored. And now everybody's like, oh, please support these person. No. Why? Why should we support people who have been espousing ideas that have been dangerous to black people for almost 2 years and we told you? I don't want people to get censored. That's wrong. But don't ask me to support them because they were censored. Mm-mm. So, yeah, I did notice that, Stevie, that some groups, and I noticed that the other day, some groups have gone so far, and these are progressive Bernie groups now that we were members of last year. They've blocked our content. That's how shady some of y'all are, man. So, listen, the Luqmans are going to continue to do what we do. There's so much stuff that we want to focus on. We can't even, we don't even have the bandwidth to focus on the local issues that we really need to focus on, that we want to focus on, because the national stuff is so much. Our bandwidth is stretched that thin. And then we got to have our tolerance of people and their BS tested too? Mm-mm. So, listen. If we post things that excuse me, you disagree with, ooh, I got waffles. Here on Coffee, Current Events, and Politics in Luqman Nation, we invite you to disagree with those things. We don't have a problem with that at all. But please understand, disrespect is not something we tolerate on this page. We won't disrespect you. Don't come in here disrespecting us. Because before we show you the door, we're going to tell you about yourself. And if that's not something you can tolerate, then don't come in here with your foolishness. Because this is our platform. We don't have to tolerate you. So I'm glad, you guys, that the stream seems to be holding up well. That bodes well for our upcoming shows. Like I said, we are working on a show. I hope we're going to be able to do it tonight. I'm trying to see if everybody's schedules can coordinate and we can do it. We're going to do a live interview. I'll let you know. We'll see. We'll put out an announcement, but we'll definitely be live Thursday night at 9 p.m. to continue the discussion about what we get wrong about closing the racial wealth gap. A new report that was published 2 weeks ago by the Samuel Dubois Institute for Social Policy, I think, from Duke University. And that was from Dr. Derek Hamilton, Dr. Sandy Darity, Alan Paul, and other people whose names I cannot remember. Like 6 people co-authored that amazing report. We've posted a link to it on our page. We're going to keep talking about that report. Because just like we have to deal with people testing our tolerance in regard to caping for problematic white people, we got to deal with black people who believe some messed up stuff about black people and our financial situation too. We got to deal with that too. And we're going to keep talking about that. We're going to keep having that conversation because this is our economic situation of black and Latino people having zero wealth in less than 40 years. That's not because poor people buy Jordans and buy too much Starbucks and waste money on too many movies. Jordans and designer purses and movies don't create the kind of racialized income inequality that black people are living and experiencing right now. And we're going to keep talking about this until we get through the whole report. And then we're going to keep talking about it then until we get the politics we need to address these issues. So, thanks, y'all. Yeah, I agree with you. You're absolutely right, Vernon. The report is important. That's why we're going to keep talking about it. I just wanted to show you my waffles. I wanted to show you my waffles that my man made me. I got waffles. My man makes me waffles, y'all. So I was just, just wanted to have a chat with you, make sure the stream is steady, the bandwidth is good. I hope you're jealous of my waffles that my boo made me. And we'll see you guys later. Thanks a lot for joining us on this impromptu little chat on Live and Coffee Current Events and Politics in Luqman Nation. Peace, y'all. Be good to each other.